All right, welcome back to DangIT Prodcast, the show where we talk about video games, maybe not anime this time, maybe not manga. My name is Justin, and welcome back, everybody. It's question to y'all. If anyone's tuning in on this, on the very day that this premieres, I don't think you guys are going to do that. I think you guys are smart about it, but for the very few who are, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're just chilling, right? Nothing crazy is happening today on this very specific day. Also, I was gonna throw that in there because I just totally forgot I need to have my notes open here. Although to be fair, there's not a lot of things going on this past week. Personally, I don't think. Just something that just came by while I was just kind of like going through Twitter/X. What is this? This is kind of disgusting, guys. If you guys are not, if you guys don't see this, what I'm looking at is a post from Skitty Bitty. They're the ones who done that Tears of the Kingdom is awful video, and I'm seeing a photo of them and their Joy-Con stick, and it looks like there's a huge indent on that stick. I don't know how you do that. And then I scrolled a little bit more to someone who replied, "This is what they did to theirs." And yeah, if you could see that, what are we doing? And they're claiming that they've done nothing outside of just playing normal games. And I'm like, brother, it should just look like this, right? Like normal, maybe a little bit like shiny, that's fine, but like what's going on? Albeit though, a little bit afterwards, I got this little cover, this joystick cover from JSOX. So I'm okay on my end, but dog, that's intense. I don't know what to say. The problem is I can't really outright accuse people of just not taking care of like their consoles because things happen. Things just happen. But this is, God. So anyway, we got a couple things going on for today's show. We got Sorry guys, I'm a little distracted now because I'm trying to like apply this on back. I had to take a look at mine real quick just to make sure like am I taking good care of it? It's like yeah, it should be fine. There we go. Just took a little bit. There we go. So anyway, so what we got going on here today, we got one pickup. Okay, one pickup. That's pretty hype. All right. And then we have to talk about Highguard. Yeah. But then we can pretty much spend the entire podcast episode talking about the PlayStation State of Play that happened on Thursday, this past Thursday. So, I mean, it's another week of game coverage stuff, things that are new popping up. So, we're looking forward to that. First thing I want to talk about, the pickup here, and I'll go ahead and mark this down at the timestamp right there. It's only just the one. Meanwhile, I'm looking at Phil's like postings, and he's like picking up like so many other games as far as new and retro ones. But we got here Mario Tennis Fever. This came out 2 days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago. It's another Camelot game, or a game developed by Camelot within the Mario Tennis series. I believe there's like 4 of them. 4? Maybe 5-ish? Okay, maybe I'm not the biggest fan in the world, but there is a Game Boy game, which is actually available on the NSO if you guys want to try that one out. If you have, actually, if you just, I forget if NSO's available like for free. Well, there's Nintendo Switch Online, but then there's Nintendo Switch Online plus the expansion pack. Gotcha. Sorry, I got to remind myself of that. But it should be available on that initial tier, to which is on the Game Boy platform, which everyone like within that subscription has access to. I actually played it this morning because I was like, you know what? I never actually really tried it. It's actually really impressive. Like, if you guys have ever like tried out that game like way back in the day, or you just tried it on NSO, it's kind of shockingly good. Just how well like it plays, how smooth the animation is. I was really impressed with like the sprite work on that, and everything just kind of like being spruced up on like a bigger like monitor. I had to wonder like, how did they do that on a smaller screen like that? That's crazy, dude. I don't know. they cooked with that one, I'm sure. But when it comes to Mario Tennis Fever, I mean, this has come from the guy who's like really got into it since like the GameCube one. The GameCube one is fantastic. I got to play this one a little bit, like maybe a solid hour of just like playing through. What was it? The Tower of Trial. It was the Trial of Growth, and the reason I did that was actually because I wanted to unlock Goomba. They actually have in their menus just achievements. I was actually taken aback by that, seeing that there was actually something that kept records of actual things that you do in the game, in that fashion. But they had one that had every single character, well, at least I believe every single character. It might be a little bit less because there is 38 characters, and that didn't really look like the remaining umpteenth ones, unless there was a lot more on the base roster. I haven't really dug deep into it, to be honest. It was only just today that I got to really play it, but I was actually really surprised by it. I mean, it was within the confines of this trial type of thing, so it had the opportunity to throw in all these different challenges to you that would otherwise not be in, like, say, a tournament mode or some kind of classic mode. So it was able to throw a lot of variety, like in my way, and I thought it was really cool for that one. So what I played so far, TLDR, was great. And to be honest, I don't think there was any issues I would have with like controls whatsoever. It plays just like how it was back in GameCube days. I just got off of playing the Game Boy version, the Game Boy game, and that's actually pretty solid, all things considered. It's just interesting, and I can't really say much about Tennis Aces. I know with Tennis Aces they had the trick shots, and they had health bars that they incorporated, and there was the ability to break people's rackets, which was pretty volatile, and it was something of a strategic thing. It's probably why a lot of people played the online for as long as they have. But with this one, it isn't about breaking rackets, but it's about, I was gonna say debuff, as if we're like playing RPG, and kind of in a way. They have the fever rackets being the key thing about this game, where your your shots, depending on if you're using your FP meter, is able to create different effects on the other side of the court. Depending on if it's something that bounces into their court or gets redirected back at yours without bouncing. And it's been kind of interesting so far. Some of the rackets play differently than others for sure, and not just because like, oh, you hit it and it bounces here and it creates this. It's like, no, you go through that process. Some of them make like wide curveballs, for example. Other ones like will send up like tornadoes as you like bounce back the ball, and that's actually meant to push players back to your advantage. So it feels pretty arcadey so far, and I kind of like that for it, because I can totally tolerate, what was it, the powers and everything like that. But the issue with some of those is that, especially when you're playing on GameCube, that one had like offensive and defensive special skills, which were like really cool when you had that, but it was also kind of easy to kind of work against. But I feel like there's a level of chaos, especially if you play in like during like in doubles, that I just kind of like that. It kind of gives me like Mario Party vibes on that one. But I don't know. There's not really a lot I can really critique on, but it's good. It's good so far. So having said that, though, I think this is a good recommend. I think there are some issues that people have said in their reviews and everything like that, and I recommend you guys check those out. But otherwise, as far as the content like in here, it's solid. I think the only review I really heard, as far as like a decent critique, was just probably just the lack of stuff, the lack of game modes, because they have a lot going on with them. I'm putting away the Joy-Con. I have it there. Yeah, no, that was Mario Tennis Fever. Got to play a little bit more about that. It's definitely a game where you actually need to be playing more of it to unlock more of the characters, the rackets, and it's definitely a good incentive. I mean, we were talking about this with Kirby Air Riders, where it's better if we actually play through the game in order to earn more stuff. Because even though that might be a drag, if you want to really get everything set up for like group party stuff, it definitely helps with just like the one-on-one experience. just trying to get into like the game and finds things that really stick with you in ways that you can only really discover if you really like dig deep into the game for the sake of some other objective, which makes sense. I think, kind of on a side tangent, games that give you something to work with. If a game just kind of like dumped you out in the middle of something and they just said go do, then sure, you'll have varying degrees of like engagement on that one. You can say that about Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild had a story-based mission for you to go through. They even said that like, hey, you can go to like the castle and just do what you need to do there, but we really recommend that you go take a deviate path and talk to what was her name? Go to Kakariko Village, and that would kind of point you in the right direction. So sometimes you just kind of need like an extra push just to give someone like the objective here. But yeah, it's super solid. Now, there's something I wanted to talk about pretty briefly, and this might actually be a pretty brief podcast just as it is. But let's talk about Highguard. Highguard, we were talking about this last time as well, I believe. I believe so. But here's the thing. They already laid off some of the team. I guess most of the team in quote, but they have like a core group that's still working on, revisions and everything like that, and general support of the game. That's rough, dude. There's not really much I can really like chime in on as far as, like what's going on in the background things, but I've always wondered exactly how do games that are free to play, especially, I believe Highguard is also free to play, right? Yeah, it should be. So there was just something where it's like, okay, well, how do you guys make your revenue, to be honest? Actually, let me just pull it up on Steam and just see. Oh yeah, it is free to play. Okay. Yeah, how do you guys do that? And to be fair, I haven't really jumped in on how exactly, the game really works and how do they like make the money? Typically through like character skins and everything like that, right? Because that's how Fortnite still stays alive and relevant. It's really impressive how they were able to do that for such a long time and continue to do so. What's kind of odd here is, when we throw in a brand new free to play game, like what incentives do you have to keep it pushed forward? Because, when we think about free to plays, we're thinking about like these battle royales, and then we also think about Ibrahim. How's it going? We talk about these battle royales. We talk about gotcha games, especially mobile games, and how do they like make a lot of money? And I think it's all kind of different here and there. Like for example, Fire Emblem Heroes is one that is still going. I'd have to be honest. To be honest, I actually don't really know why they still keep going at this point. Aside from them being like a pretty good IP versus say, Dragalia Lost, which I think was a lot more in depth and a little bit more impactful, more engaging in like the core mechanics. Because for the most part, it really was. I don't know. And to be fair, I think it was very unique in its own way. And then we have, like the Hoyo levels of like free to play games, which are pretty well in depth in what they do. And then there's Fire Emblem Heroes, which is like it was my first gotcha game. But because of how Fire Emblem is, it's a very simplistic way of like engaging in that type of game. And having picked up on it again, it made me realize really how weird it was. I mean, to be fair, we also have Pokemon as well. I don't know how well Pokemon TCG Pocket is doing, but I do also dabble in that one quite a bit too. But I think it's because it does a lot well with collecting and trading, so fair enough. But also, these big IPs are behind them too, so a lot of, the popularity kind of sticks with them too. So, but that doesn't mean that those with kind of an unknown IP are just destined to sink. It's just one of those things where like you kind of have to strike gold when it was there, like with Hoyoverse, and then they would be able to branch out even more so, and people who are interested can kind of understand the pedigree to a certain extent and be like, oh, actually, this will probably be worth my time. Let me just check it out, or not, Oh man, Sorry, I was that was a little bit more of a tangent than I thought it would be. But yeah, essentially with Highguard, it's just really unfortunate that we have like devs that are really working hard on a game and they're just let go because, the funding wasn't there, the money wasn't there. The overall like reception of it is just it wasn't there. And I don't really have any particular critiques on it personally because I've never really played the game. All I can hear this from are from people online, and people have certain level degrees of critique versus those who just say it's just terrible, and you can't get anything out of that, to be honest. So it's just unfortunate. I hope that it's just a lesson to go forward with, and it'll. I mean, to be fair, I think a lot of free to play games have gone through this over and over and over again. I believe it's something where, you know, it's a huge wave, and you can actually mimic this alongside people who would like participate in like the market as well, where someone makes an initial splash, and then there's a huge wave caused by that. People try to get on that wave by incorporating their own thing, but they end up getting like overshadowed by that very same thing, or it was just kind of like a lackluster version of that, and they get compared here and there. But some are pretty successful in what they get to do, so fair enough. Yeah, I think I think I'd have a lot more to say if it was a little bit more developed. But this is all a lot of things I'm just kind of thinking from the top of my head. But again, Highguard, hoping for the best for them, and God, I can only imagine other free to play games out there that are trying to do the exact same thing. I'm like, oh God, don't do it. It was just like a different time. And oh yeah, I guess essentially it's just like adopting something that worked to see if you can make like a little twist on that one. Varying degrees of success. But yeah, okay, guys. I think we can go ahead and jump in on state of play stuff, and then we can maybe briefly like review things on the personal side, things that are just we're all going through. Granted, it's just me today, but the state of play happened Thursday, and you know what? I had no idea what they would like really throw in there. There was the possibility that maybe like Final Fantasy could be there, like maybe Wolverine, Insomniac's Wolverine. For some reason in the back of my head, I thought maybe Last of Us for some reason would just pop up out of nowhere for some remake remaster nonsense. But that's just me saying that because I've just seen way too many of them. And at this point, I almost just anticipate it. Although, I guess it is odd that Naughty Dog just isn't their period, even with their sci-fi game that they're working on. Maybe it's just in the background. Just give them some time. Ibrahim here saying that state of play was a bunch of mid. You know what? That's fair. I think if you can really talk about, I mean, it's fair to have an opinion like that. It's just that everyone's gonna have varying degrees of like how they feel about like a certain thing. I think honestly, if you were to pitch this to the main cast of DangIT Podcast here, myself, Aniyah, Phil, those two, they gave them nines out of 10. I give it like an 8 to 9 out of 10. Like there was a lot of cool things there, even though I probably wouldn't really dive into a lot of them. They were just like really cool to see. So we'll go ahead and get started. So I'm kind of just like looking at this in the background, just as a good reminder of like what actually happened. Um, Kana Scars of Cosmora. So this is the sequel of the first Kana like Bridge of Spirits, right? It was something that was also funded and backed up by like PlayStation. That was actually like pretty cool to see that. But then as far as like the reviews and reception, it was okay, from what I understand. And I think Phil tried that out. I think Goodnights also played that, and maybe you gotta have to ask them about that. Dude, they got that PlayStation money. They got that PlayStation money. I'm looking at like the cutscenes as they're just doing it right now, and obviously it's a presentation, so it's supposed to look good. But they got that money. They got backed up. So, I mean, if they're just looking to refine how it was originally, then I mean, by all means. I just was really shocked to even see it have a sequel. I thought it was just gonna be a one-time thing, but okay. And then following after that, we had Ghost of Yote Legends, which is the cooperative experience if you guys have played through Ghost of Tsushima. Sorry, Ghost of Tsushima. They also had like a Legends thing. They also had cooperative play. I'm not really particularly into that aspect of it. It's probably really cool. I just have to play through the first game. My bad. That's definitely like a me game. Like I would definitely just jump into that. There's just so much on my plate. And then we got the announcement of Death Stranding on PC. Honestly, because of how PlayStation's like been functioning, it's kind of expected to see them talk about like PC ports for their first party whenever it's made available. That's kind of what they're doing there. But that's super cool. I think the really cool thing about it is, you know, the widescreen support. Bro, it's a game where you're just walking. You're walking, there's a lot of environment, so just seeing that like just zoomed out, you're like, whoa, insane. But we'll have to see how well the PC like version actually like plays it. And I'll be honest with you guys, I will probably not be that first initial source to tell you guys if it does work or not. Maybe Digital Foundry will be there for you. Um, I'll be honest with you, for loop, and let me be clear with everybody. I can say that something is good, something's not great. I can also say that like a general presentation is it's mid. It's not my cup of tea. I usually lean to more positive words and a little bit softer things. I'll take the sum of all of its parts and give you like a decent average. So when I say it's great, I'm not gonna tell you that for loop is like on my radar. It looks cool. It's just not for me. But you know what? If I got invited to actually like play like a cooperative session, then that'd be kind of cool to try it out and actually see it. But it doesn't initially grab me the same way as like Pragmata does. I'm definitely one who kind of leans more towards single player experiences, albeit, there is Monster Hunter. But which is funny because that was also a Capcom thing. But yeah, for the most part, we pretty much know Pragmata is looking pretty promising so far. So it's just a matter of just when does it come out, which is pretty soonish. Same way as Resident Evil Requiem. I was listening to Max's stream actually when it comes to Resident Evil. I guess people were kind of anticipating a demo for it to come out. I don't think we are, I guess. It's so close. I mean, could they release a demo maybe like the week before it comes out? Well, here's the thing. Actually, no, maybe. I couldn't say. Maybe it really is a thing where, there's just such a pedigree to Resident Evil, so maybe at this point you don't need it. Mm. But fair enough. I'll be honest, as much as I'm kind of into, Resident Evil as a series, I haven't played a lot of them. I am definitely a wuss when it comes to like horror games, horror survival. But there is also a part of me that's still very intrigued by it. I just, it's hard for me because the scariest games I'd played in a while were like Outlast 2, I think, because it was a whole thing where like we were working as a group to play all these different like horror games in October, and I tried to do Outlast and I literally could not move because I was so fearful of like getting attacked. We did a recording. I'm not sure we even showed it, but it was Chainsaw Massacre, Chainsaw Man, not Chainsaw Man. Sorry, that's the anime. Or is it Chainsaw Texas Massacre? It's Dead by Daylight type of game, but it's sorry, I'm not real well versed in it, but the main thing you gotta get out of this is the fact that I literally froze. I froze in that game. Flight or fight, like fight or flight. It's me like flights or just hiding. It's so bad. It's so bad. But still, though, like I'm still really intrigued with the Resident Evil series. But I just know that 7 and 8, I wouldn't. That'd be the worst time. Me and like Silent Hill would not blend well either. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But let me tell you guys about the fact that Legacy of Kain. Also, I guess I misspelled that in like the subtitles and everything. Legacy of Kain, Defiance, it's getting a remaster as well. I was actually really shocked by this. I don't know much about the Legacy of Kain series, but I mean, if we're just kind of going off of what Phil has said, it's pretty good. So I was just shocked that they would get another Legacy of Kain to get remastered. It seems like they're kind of prepping for something to come out, like a new Legacy of Kain or something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to look into like the details. It's like who's doing the remaster for these, because there's a lot of attention to detail they're doing to these, especially when you're looking at the stuff outside the gameplay. What was it? They have artwork. They even have like an unreleased like demo of what was going to be maybe the next game showing up. It's actually really impressive. But moving on to another one. This is actually an older IP as well, I think. This is called what was it? Brigadine Abyss? Happinet's Brigadine series. 1998 on the OG PlayStation. This is a strategy like fantasy RPG. So, to be honest, I don't have a lot to like say about this one. I don't even know if this is my cup of tea as far as like strategy RPGs, but the fact is that they're bringing back something old like that. Okay, I'm kind of interested in that one. But there's a lot. Like I could have sworn that there's like 20 something, 30 something storylines. Oh, no, 6 main storylines and side quests across 24 nations. Jeez, that's a lot of nations. Oh boy. And that's coming out in 2026. I'm just kind of reading off like that there. Interesting. Interesting. Apparently NIS is involved. Huh. All right. But yeah, okay, moving on to the next one here. Brother, I knew that both Phil and I would be like going off on this one, Dead or Alive. And we're not talking about like beach volleyball. As I initially thought it was going to be like, oh, maybe they're just doing another beach volleyball. No, but it's Dead or Alive 6 Last Round. So, from what I understand, this is kind of like a remaster of Dead or Alive 6. Because Dead or Alive 6 is already there. But, okay. Okay. And I thought initially this was just because maybe they just wanted to just test some stuff out. Maybe they wanted to see if there's still an audience for it who was interested in this game. No, they actually just have something for the 30th anniversary, and they have this special project, a new one, and they also have 6 Last Round. So interesting. You know, I'm trying to remember. Have I played a Dead or Alive game before? I think I might have gone something through like Xbox's like gold membership, and one of these was available, I think, maybe. But otherwise I've never really played Dead or Alive, so I mean I'd be kinda down. They also have a free to play version, if I recall. Yeah, a free to play version available at launch, which I don't even know. How do you even the only game that has like shown that to me as far as like free to play options was probably either Grand Blue Fantasy Versus when it was, the initial one, and they were transitioning over to the upgraded version for PlayStation 5, or it was Dissidia. I forget which Dissidia, but it was a free to play version where like the characters would get swapped out every so often, every week. So interesting. I guess we'll follow up on that at a later date. The next one we have over here is Control Resonant. This is part of the Control series, and it's different. If you guys have not had much interest in playing Control, I feel you. I kind of feel the same way, but at the same time, I'm also really curious about it, considering like how well it's being received. Control is one of those interesting ones where the game came out, and you know what? Maybe who are the developers? Control video game. Please let me know. Enlighten me. Remedy Entertainment. They just cook with their games. It's crazy. And the weird thing is that they, correct me if I'm wrong, I think these games just released later on in the year and they just get nominated just like that. The crazy thing is that you'll see reviews postings, but for me personally, I don't really hear anything else from like the games, and then they just get nominated, and it's like, wait, oh, is is it that good? Okay, but yeah, no. So Control, having said that, was well received, and now this is kind of like a follow up game, although it's not exactly bare bones, just like an upgrade where you're just following the same character. No, we have a different character here. Gameplay is completely dramatically different. Where you're like doing melee stuff, you're like hopping between skyscrapers, you're dealing with gravity stuff. It's like, whoa. Ghost Hand, what you got going on here? Control is like the best 3D Metroidvania. It isn't a Metroidvania. It didn't even look like that to me. It was like, it kind of reminded me of like a Doom level of exploration where it feels like or at least it would look like it's linear, but a lot of like gameplay I see of that game is just like running around like a building, but mainly just like shooting people like with like your firearm or like with your hand. I don't remember, but Resident is so different from what I see because I can't even imagine like what city exploration looks like when you have the abilities to just hop between different buildings and like just go in different ways. I was really impressed. This was just like a gameplay trailer type of thing. And you had your guy going upside down against this like flying revenant thing. I'm just I'm so taken aback by this. So sign me up, to be honest. It's a 100% in spiritual 3D Metroidvania. Fair enough. I mean, I won't doubt you on that one. It just never really was promoted like that. But you know what? Fair enough. I'm pretty much down with this one. I should probably play the other games, to be honest with you. And when I mean other games, I just mean Control. This one, this follow up is really interesting to me. It's called Crimson Moon, and I didn't really know what I was like looking at, but you know what? Shouts to the guitar just going off. And then they started to show like Souls like type of gameplay, and I was like, that's huh. You know what? It looks like a much more like looser Souls like game for now, but it has like a heavy like bit of cooperative play involved. Like maybe yes or no on that one. Yeah, no, not bad, not bad. I'm not familiar with the team making it though. Crimson Moon. Crimson Moon is it? Yeah, it's this one. Probably Monsters. What have they done in the past? They've done Stormlancers. Wait, Stormlancers. I only say that because I'm actually looking at it right now. Stormlancers is actually the game that I saw. It was released on Steam a while back. Interesting. It kind of Stormlancer reminds me of a Saturday morning cartoon, but it was a 2D platform shooter type of thing. You've seen it in Nintendo Direct. So, if you just want to be reminded of that one. It actually got released last year. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. But yeah, they're making Crimson Moon? Okay. All right. I guess they're starting to build up like a pedigree of stuff. They also have this game called Ire, a prologue. Sorry, I read that weird. It's just called Ire, a prologue. By looks of it, Ire is kind of, well, I mean, they even say it right here, like it's 1986. You're stranded on in the Bermuda Triangle, but you're not alone. It's kind of like it's a first person game, maybe like a mystery type of game with some horror aspects to it. Interesting. They got a lot of stuff that they're kind of working on, or rather, they just have quite a variety to them. Fair enough. I'll keep an eye out for this one. And then we got Beast and Reincarnation showing up here as well. Not bad. Game Freak is just making rounds. We talked about that before. That Game Freak is part owner of Pokemon because they're the ones who developed it too. but also they are also like a co-owner of Pokemon Company. Previous called, I think it was called Pokemon Center Company, but then later on, as I did my research, they would later like change the name to the Pokemon Company. That is triple owned by, what was it, Nintendo, and then Game Freak, and then Creatures, who make the card game primarily. But yeah, no. And when I looked into, the whole list that they got going on here, Game Freak, they've made a lot more games than I could have like ever counted on my hands. The only problem is that a lot of people only state that they've made Pokemon games. And to be fair, I'm part of the problem there. But here's to hoping that Beast and Reincarnation, make some waves just so that, you know, they can actually start maybe focusing on some other projects. But for what I understand through what Max had said, that was a game that was getting outsourced as well. So, fair enough. The next thing we have on the list here is actually just Rayman. Rayman, the 30th anniversary. It's pretty much running through like the classic versions of Rayman. A lot of them, I mean, there's the PlayStation one, but there's also some other platforms for it, to which I cannot really list out to you right now because I need to actually look into that just so I know it's the right one. But as a 30th anniversary, they pretty much have a lot of stuff going for it as far as like things in the background. I think they have some interviews, if anything, maybe just artwork involved here. So I know that Phil's really big on this one. I'm actually really happy to see that Rayman gets a lot of notoriety here, but otherwise, Oh, the fact that they have a physical release as well. So it's coming out, was it literally today? Wait, hold on. Wait. I'm gonna need to go back on that real quick. Hold on. Jesus, dude. Sorry, guys. I was like, the problem is that when you're looking at a smaller screen for this, it's hard to really like scroll through everything and get the exact time for this. All right. Nope. Okay, I'm just gonna have to wait for this one. Sorry, y'all. Also, meantime, what do you guys wanted to say about this? The classic Rayman is a visual joy, simplistic but worth an afternoon worth of whimsy. A little pricey, but if it ever drops to like $20, it's well worth it. I was gonna say they just said that like this. I mean, I guess to be fair, that was literally yesterday. Yeah, so Rayman came out yesterday, 30th anniversary, but physical release, that's crazy. June 26th. All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I know Phil's really big on that one. It actually had I think it's gotten him into a craze of like picking up some retro games alongside Bomberman, that Super Bomberman collection one that was from the Nintendo Direct. Yeah, so you'll hear a little bit more about that later. Here's the interesting thing that popped up was seeing Mina the Hollower show up here. They say it's coming out 2026. They don't have an exact date, but it's pretty much just a nice little glazing of, Mina the Hollower. This is Yacht Club games. They make some really good stuff. The only issue is that, I think they're kind of under budgeted right now, just given the circumstances right now, and it's definitely caused a little bit of a delay for this game. They need this game to do really well. So I'm really praying for them because they're making a lot of good stuff. But otherwise, that's pretty much all they wanted to show as far as Mina the Hollower is involved. Let me just go ahead and go through the listings here. Oh shoot, I wasn't expecting this. You guys remember Neva, right? Neva showed up a couple of times on different like, showcases and whatnot. I think I remember more specifically Nintendo Direct. Well, they have a prologue that they have here. In fact, I think it's literally just called Neva Prologue. I think it's playing similar to just how Neva was, but it's just the origin story of how, your character comes across like the wolf. So just prepare to get really emotional with this one. I have my little physical for Neva as well as Gris. So shoot, it's coming out the 19th. It's coming out next week. What are we doing? This is crazy. we have this other game called what was it, Yako Shinobi Ops. You know what? Um, I had to actually check in as far as like who's making this game. They were talking about it. I just, I just don't remember. It looks really stylistically like pleasing though. What was it called? Yako Shinobi Ops. Although I feel like I'm spelling it wrong here. Yako. Oh, it's with an H, not an I for some reason. Why did I, or rather, why did I type that out like that? It's available on Steam as well, or at least rather, it's announced for Steam as well. Oh right, this is Shueisha. You know, you might have seen Shueisha just kind of show up in like anime, like films right as they premiere. Like you just see Shueisha right there, and you're like, whoa, huh? And it acquires actually the folks who help out with Octopath Traveler, actually, among a bunch of other things here too. But like, that's how I kind of know them. Was it? I'm not sure exactly how they move specifically, but I don't know. That's kind of an interesting combination. But I will say it's not bad looking. It looks pretty good. It looks like I don't even have the words to describe it, but it seems like they're more like covert based like mission stuff, and you have like these much more tougher enemies that you want to try to avoid for the most part, but otherwise everybody else is free game. So fair enough. Fair enough. Also, uh, sorry, what was it Gohan? For some reason, I can't read that right now. Isometric, Tenshu. Oh, okay, okay. Oh shoot, the next thing's rolling up on the feed. This is oh, it's Project Windless. This is from Crafton. You know, the guys who acquired what was recently. What was it? Why am I forgetting the name? They're the ones who. Oh my god. Have you guys forgotten the name of like a team, a dev, and you're trying to remember the game that they made, and then you somehow forgot that? Hi-Fi Rush. All right, let's go. Let's work it backwards. They made Hi-Fi Rush. Tango GameWorks. Tango GameWorks was like with Bethesda, and then they got sold out because Microsoft was like, "You ain't making money." It's like that's bullshit. Fine. But Crafton went and picked up Tango GameWorks, so Hi-Fi Rush is able to survive that, or rather Tango GameWorks is able to survive, and they can now make other games under the guidance, or at least under Crafton if anything. But yeah, so they're working on this Project Windless, and it's just a big chicken. It's a big chicken, and he's doing some Muso game like gameplay. So okay, you're just fighting like hordes of enemies, but like the environment actually looks pretty good. We sure this is Crafton? Are we sure about that? I don't know. Maybe they're here to impress everybody. Not bad. It's actually really humorous to see the chicken. Anyway, we have 007 First Light, and then after that we can talk about Konami. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I've seen enough of 007 First Light. They can just release that. Please release that. I think they do have an actual release date that they announced. I just totally forgot what it was. It was very soon though. It was very soon. Okay, maybe not soon. It's May 27th, 2026. Okay. All right. All right. Fair enough. Um Actually, you know what? I totally skipped one. How 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 dare? How dare? Because this is Star Wars Galactic Racer. This looks kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I think what people were saying is like it kind of gives you like a burnout type of like vibe. I'm down for it. I kind of want to see how this plays out because the pod racing has always been like a really cool thing within the universe that just doesn't really get like really touched, at least not that much. We've seen pod racing before, like as a game, I believe, but I don't know. I think we need a more modern take on it, to be honest. And this is shaping up to be the one. So okay, okay. And guys, it just becomes a Konami show after this. It's so crazy. Because, yeah, I know that Konami's just been making moves these, like, past few years, here and there. Just splotches, like, here within the timeline. And then all of a sudden, they just have, like, a whole, like, rap sheet going on here. So, this was a relatively safe thing for them to do. But they had the Metal Gear Solid Master Collection Volume 2 finally coming out. We've had Volume 1 for what feels like a few years now. But this one's very important because it actually takes Metal Gear Solid 4, that PlayStation 3 exclusive, and finally releases it from those shackles, and now is available multi-platform wise. It's like, and this has come from someone who's never even had a PlayStation 3, so therefore I never had this game. But hearing people's like reception of this game it was when it came out, brother. This was the game that was like, what was it? I think maybe GameStop was like or GameSpot, sorry. They gave this game a 10 out of 10. I don't see 10 out of 10s on that website except for, way back when with like Ocarina of Time or anything like that. Or, Halo 3 or whatever. Dude. Crazy. But the important thing is that this is available on all the platforms. This will be available on the platforms. So good on them to finally get to that. And then they also have Peace Walker. So it's kind of a smaller collection as far as like the volume of it, but as far as the quality, I think this is warranted. Man, dude. Is there any other Metal Gear Solid games? I guess there's 5. And then the other one, that was technically a demo, Ground Zero. I think that would be the last thing. And I guess we're within the timeline where they could just do something like that, but that's further out there. I think we should really just pay attention to the fact that 4 is now going to be available. So fair enough. I'll skim over this one real quick. Darwin's Paradox. It's another game for Konami, but it's kind of like I would say it's kind of like Inside like. If you guys have played that game before, or shoot, what was the other game? I don't remember it. Inside though is just kind of a side scroller storytelling, immersive storytelling type of game where you're just going left to right on things. And it's typically you as someone who's running away from enemies here and there. And Darwin's Paradox is kind of like that. The reason it shows up here is because of the fact they also had, what was it, a little demo that gives it much more of a Metal Gear Solid vibe to it. So fair enough. But dude, this is crazy. They have Castlevania. We were just talking about Metroidvania. Dog, here's the other half of it. So it's a brand new Castlevania game. It's called Castlevania Belmont's Curse. I'm not even in it with the Castlevania like that. I intend to, but this is looking really good. Just based on the gameplay that they showed, good on them to show it the way that they did. Yeah, it's looking pretty solid. That's all I can really say. It looks hype. And you know what? I wasn't really expecting this. But yeah, they were like, yeah, let's give you another Silent Hill. More Silent Hill. This one's called Townfall. You're in new shoes of like this one dude, and you know what? To be honest, it's like this with every Silent Hill. You try to describe it, and unless you really know the story, as in you play it, you don't know how to really describe it. You're just this guy named Simon. What seems to be like a groundhog type of situation where you just wake up on a boat and you're just trying to like do what you can for like this little town, but something goes awry. You don't know exactly how, but a lot of horror stuff like starts to pop up. That's kind of how you will really describe this game. But they, what's the word? I don't have the word for it, but they got this game like, or this franchise on lockdown, or well, they're locked in. Sorry. I think as we go through the podcast today, I'm just like losing more like my vocabulary. Oh yeah, and I just gave me an update. Obviously, understandably, that a lot of our folks would not be available to stream or hop on pod today because it's Valentine's Day, except for the other solo person that I have here, which would be Aniyah. But he's currently losing his ish playing these games. If you guys don't know, this guy's trying to play 100 games within the year. Understandably, he's probably gonna lose it. We'll definitely check in on him and just see what the update is. But yeah, again, Silent Hill, Townfall, not bad, not bad. You know, this might be one of those horror games I will definitely be like, no, not for me. I'll watch someone else play it though. And then we get this crazy, almost, to be honest, this is on me because it was still Konami. So I knew this couldn't have possibly been it. But I saw it, and he just cut to this anime dude with a silhouette, and I was like, is this Kingdom Hearts? It's not. It was not. It looked like it, though. But it looks to be like a brand new IP. It's a, what was it? An action RPG. So, fair enough. I don't really know too much of the premise. It kind of looks like you're dealing with memories and stuff like that. But, you know, the more I think about trying to explain it, the more I'm like, wait, I feel like I've heard of this before. Not in a bad way, but it's just one of those things where it seems like there's like an eerie like end to the world, and you're very well aware of it. But then time goes back in time. Things go back to normal. You go back in time. You witness everything, and it's like, oh, you're just restarting the adventure. So I guess what it's going to be playing at, kind of like how, and there's a story to this, or at least rather, there's a commonality to like how you do this bit of storytelling. I wanted KH4. I wanted Wolverine. I wanted Spider-Man 3, and many other games. So sad to be Ibram today. Or this week. I feel it. I feel it. Yeah, there's definitely a foreboding like opening of it, I guess. That's how you would describe it. But it's called Rev Noir. Rev Noir. We'll just call it that. I will say I do like the illustration they show at like the very end, but I guess we'll just have to wait for more details on that one. John Wick. That's all I gotta say about it. John Wick, bro. We'll wait and see. Marathon. I'm gonna be real honest with you guys. I know it's Bungie. I know they've made Halo games in the past. I really like those Halo games. I'm not at all interested in Marathon, so I'm gonna move on. They got some PlayStation Plus stuff. They got Spider-Man, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Fair enough. I think they also talked about like the classic add-ons, which was actually really sick. It was, what was it? Tekken Dark Resurrection, which is Tekken 5, if I recall, but it's PlayStation Portable. You know what? Talk to Aniyah, talk to Phil about that. But it's really sick to see like a game like that just kind of show up on the library, in the library. The next one was what's it called? I feel like it was called Time Crisis. Correct me if I'm wrong. In fact, I'm just gonna go and scroll through it right now. Oh shoot. We're about to see it. Yeah, it's Time Crisis. Okay. Crazy, dude. That's crazy. And then what's this? Oh, it's Big Walk. You know what? I kind of like Big Walk. I'm not gonna lie. I saw it and I was like, I'm kind of down for it. But to be honest, I think it would be a game that I'd probably like play on PC and just kind of take advantage of like multiplayer stuff that way. Because I currently don't have PlayStation Plus, so I don't really have any means to really engage in online content over on the PlayStation platform. That's on me though. That's on me. John Wick movie is going to be hype as hell. Is that what you got out of that one? Fair enough. And then they talk about Saros. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm so locked in when it comes to Saros as well. I just need to be playing the other game. Like that's just sitting there. That's just sitting there. So it's another thing to add on the backlog. Having said that though, Saros looks amazing. So yeah. I got no beef with it. The next one is Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls. So, yeah, this is the big fighting game that PlayStation's funding. So yeah, we've been kind of due for this. But it's kind of a trailer that shows off the Wolverine cast. So the way that they're kind of showing it off is having the existing roster that we have for what it seems presentation wise, and then each of those will have like an assigned team. So Storm is part of the X-Men, the Unbreakable X-Men here, or Unbeatable, Unbreakable X-Men. Sorry, I have to double check. So it's her, Magic, Danger, and Wolverine. I don't know about Magic Magic or Danger like to any degree whatsoever, but no, we know Wolverine. But all right, that's really cool, and I'm seeing the gameplay right now, and I mean, I don't have that eye for like fighting games like that as far as like the juggle aspect, even if it is an Arc Systems game, but it's looking really good, really stylistic. So I guess that means, yeah, we have maybe 4 other, because there's 20 characters. There's 20 characters so far as like base game stuff. And so yeah, it should be like, yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, no, 4 other trailers prior to the release in August. So, all right, fair enough. This is actually pretty hype because this has a lot of implications, but we're just not sure about it yet. But the next thing that they announced was a God of War trilogy remake. So we were kind of anticipating there to be like a God of War trilogy. To what extent, we didn't know. This is a full-fledged remake. What does that mean exactly? We don't really know. I'm kind of wondering what they'll do as far as gameplay stuff, to be honest. Also, I was gonna say, like, I just looked at the camera and I was like, what the hell is that? No, I think it's a reflection coming off from outside that's able to just like point back in because I can see it on the ceiling. So light's just bouncing off. It's weird. Where did I get that? This room is covered outside as far as like a sunroof. The only time that light will actually peer into this particular room is during the golden hour in the afternoon, evening, if you will. But we got the original voice actor of Kratos jumping in for his role here for the trilogy. So that's actually pretty sick. I was gonna say, I don't know what the remake's gonna be like. I don't know if it's gonna be just kind of the exact same gameplay as like one through 3, or is it gonna be like a new take on gameplay? Whether it be, you know, merging between that one and maybe the current God of War games that we know, or what? You know what? And he's saying that it's gonna take a while, so we won't really get much out of it. But we did get a shadow drop. This game's called God of War: Sons of Sparta, and to be honest, it looks kind of sick. It's kind of like, you know, it kind of reminds me of like Shovel Knight as far as like how you progress. Like there's a bit of platforming, but there's a little bit more of an emphasis on combos and whatnot. So not bad, not bad. It's already available as a shadow drop would be, and I saw it being $30. Not bad. I haven't tried it yet, so I think that's everything though. Yeah, this was pretty jam packed. I got pretty excited for a lot of the stuff. So yeah, I'd probably give it an 8 or a 9 out of 10. I think I'm kind of sitting at 8 because it's a lot of cool stuff, but only a fraction I'll probably actually play, you know? That's just me. I have to be like honest with myself because as much as these are really appealing, I don't know if I'll actually like get to play all of them. But I would definitely say that as far as like the engagement of it, I wasn't really like bored of anything. I guess 4 Loop was kind of like, whatever. But maybe I just have a higher tolerance than most others when it comes to these presentations. But yeah, like I'm kind of looking at the timeline just one more time to see like, was there any duds that I felt that were here? To be honest, not really. Like I was kind of intrigued by a lot of it. I mean, hell, even Project Windless, the big chicken guy. I guess if anything, 007 First Light, I didn't really even care at this point because it's kind of the same thing as Deathloop, where they showed for the umpteenth time, and at this point, I'm just like, I'm done, guys. Can he just drop the game here and like, can we move on? Yeah, no. I mean, I guess to be fair, I also didn't really care for Marathon. I think in a different timeline, if they decide to not make this a extraction shooter, then maybe I would have been. But I'm definitely seeing how people would really enjoy some of these other announcements. I think, to be honest, maybe, yeah, you know what? It really would just be like only really two things out in this entire showcase, I would say, are things I was absolutely not interested whatsoever. I mean, to be fair, I don't really care much about Death Stranding having a PC port per se, but you know, it's Death Stranding, and I do like that game, or rather, I'm really interested in that game, so fair enough. But yeah, I think that's everything, guys. Yeah, that should be everything as far as like the state of play. Yeah. Let me see. To be honest, I didn't really like add much else here to the timeline for the pod. So if there's anything else that we wanted to like discuss, to be honest, I wasn't really talking too much. Oh, you know what? I did bring up the fact that I wanted to kind of bring up just what I've been playing personally. Just kind of just catching up on things. So it's been kind of crazy this past week. Over on the free to play gacha side of things, I guess I should because I have like kind of an interest on things. There's just, it's been a crazy time jumping into like the gacha like verse, or not the verse, but just the gacha like scene. I have been like picking up Fire Emblem like Heroes for a little bit, like a couple weeks now, and it just so happens I'm just kind of like hitting it up during like this ninth anniversary. Dude, that's so crazy, dudes. I was playing this day one. I was working like part-time, I think. Was I? Maybe full-time. Maybe. I don't know. I was early years of working where I was at when it came out. I can't believe 9 years, dude. Guys, how much could I have like done if I really heavily invested? That's where my thoughts are going to, but it's crazy. There's something I need to talk about with the meta over there. Free to play games, it would seem they have a thing that they do called power creep. It's where you essentially design characters that are supposed to deal with the current meta of things as it continues to grow. It's kind of like inflation. Shit, why did I call it? Yeah, it's like it's you know what? Hold on. It's like inflation because you need to get people involved in these games, but there has to be like an upper limit of difficulty that they always need to try to like outpace, and they have to give you more incentives to pull these characters using your money. I've been and okay, I'll be honest. I probably play no, I probably paid upwards to like 300 plus like dollars on Fire Emblem Heroes way back when. It was pretty bad. I understand that. So, if you gotta like ridicule me, now would be the time. But since then, I've come clean. I'm not doing anything. I'm not spending a single dime because they are giving me so many orbs to summon these characters. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I just been kind of chill with it. I'm just playing it really casually, and it's definitely different. You know, picking it up versus how it was way back when. I never really played a gacha game before aside from Fire Emblem Heroes at the time. So as far as how you engage with the game, I know that I was like super trigger happy when it came to summoning heroes and whatnot. I was always broke. I was always broke. Hence why there was a lot of incursions of money being done there. But now it's just one of those things where it's like, okay, now it's like a different mindset jumping into these games because now I think a little bit more efficiently than I did in the past. You know, I have all these limited resources. How can I personally make my account better? You know, and we're jumping in on that when it comes to, or at least I got that adoption through what was it, Zenless Zone Zero and Honkai Star Rail. Uh, okay, to be honest, with Genshin, I definitely played that at launch, and I'm just kind of on and off with that game. I feel so bad because I'm missing out on a lot of like resources, and I know there's a lot of fun to be had in Genshin. it's just about investing in those characters. And it's just one of those things where, like, if you don't really lock in on all your priorities, then you just kind of wander aimlessly, which is not the worst thing in the world. You're just enjoying the game the way you want to. But as far as like the core mechanic stuff that they kind of want you to do, it's kind of hard. Like, I understand, like, all three of those Hoyo games have a lot of things in common when it comes to just equipment farming and stuff like that. They all are pretty similar to each other. And I've got down to an understanding. I have it down to an understanding when it comes to Honkai, when it comes to Zenless. But with Genshin, like, I understand what I need to do, but I'm just way too lazy to get all the resources needed. But to kind of like pivot off of that, Honkai Star Rail actually has its the new story for it. It's like version 4.0. And I don't know, currently I'm just kind of sitting around just doing stuff here and there, just logging in daily. And they're doing a very similar thing when it comes to Zenless. It's they call it the Golden. What was it? Yeah, is it the Gilded Carrot Day? It's essentially their New Year's, and it's celebrating like new characters here and there. It's a whole new story thing, new chapter and whatnot. And I've just been kind of keeping up with that. But I hate this. I hate this. This is the one thing I want to tie everything together. Is the fact that, like, with these gacha games, I get so roped in on just trying to build these different characters, but I always like pick up new ones before I finish the builds on the other ones. So I'm just kind of like always falling behind on those ones, and it's driving me crazy because with all this devotion I put into these, I should just do that towards the backlog there. It's ridiculous. I mean, we just picked up Mario Tennis Fever, so I should definitely like play a fair bit of that. Phil was on me when he came to like Kirby like Air Riders. By the way, update: Seffi now has Kirby Air Riders. She's goated for that one. She got that for Valentine's Day gift. Valentine's Day gift. My words are getting slurred today. But yeah, I got a problem. Maybe I should, but it's like I'm now stuck on like the tracks with these like gotcha games. I can stop at any time, but like, why would I? You know, especially when you have power creep always lingering. It's always there. I will say I did pick up Sparkle, which is like Seffi's like favorite character within Honkai Star Rail, even though she doesn't really play it that much. But that was also like a thing where they just gave you a free character. And I was like, okay, well, I think more about instead of like who hits like the heaviest, like who's a much more future proof support character. Because I think those are really, really golden when it comes to like free to play games for sure. Just my little bit of advice if you're just jumping on those. I can't say anything about Wuthering Waves. I'm actively trying to avoid Wuthering Waves. I cannot add another gotcha game under like my belt. I cannot. Having said that though, they're doing emotional things. I'm seeing like clips here and there of Wuthering Waves, and they're showing like this character, was it Amith? And they have like this crazy story lore where she knows the original you before you lose your memories and everything like that, and like everyone's just crying on the internet about this character. And it's like, brother, you can't throw emotional things to me. I'm gonna be like invested as a person just watching this. You can't do this to me. But yeah, so that's what I'm kind of doing. Other than that, for the most part, I'm editing videos, guys. I was I managed to make two little shorts on the Tanuki channel. Finally, right? Finally able to make some videos there, but I still haven't really gone through the top 10, 2025 games that we played through the Tanuki channel. I still got to work on that. And I'm hoping this next week that I requested off, I can just finally get through that and also work on this other video I wanted to talk about, which is like the 30 FPS versus 60 FPS. That's becoming a little bit more prevalent during these times for sure. And I wanted to kind of like give my piece about that. But other than that, yeah, I think that's everything. It's just for me personally, it's just been a lot of juggling and just trying to find like a balance between things. I've been trying to especially be a little bit more healthier as far as like working out, because with all the overtime that I've been doing in an effort to heavily invest and just retire early, that's the goal, that's the dream. I've been neglecting a little bit of like my own like physical fitness, so I've been trying to incorporate that. The goal is Friday through Sunday. That's like my 3 days like within the week to work out, and that's kind of what I'm hoping to be the temporary thing for a fix. And then with all that overtime, find some places where I can just edit some videos. It's ridiculous, dude. This is tough. Yeah. Having said that, though, I'll go ahead. I'll wrap it up here, guys. It's been pretty chill. I'm just glad that we were able to talk about the state of play and actually have something good to talk about when it comes to that. Because I feel like Nintendo Partners Direct was kind of okay. I gave it like a 6, maybe a 7 at best. But the state of play, though, for me personally, right, because I can only really speak on my behalf, it was really good. So here's hoping. I don't know because part of me was thinking that like, oh hey, maybe we'll get the Nintendo Direct the following week because they've done that before. With this Nintendo Direct, a general one, I actually have no idea. They could literally announce something like on Tuesday or Wednesday, and it's like, oh, yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea, guys. Just know that like if that does happen, hype. We'll talk about it, and I have more videos to make, I suppose. But all right, guys, we'll call it here. So thank you all so much for tuning in on this episode of DangIT Prodcast. It's been episode 578. My name is Justin, and thanks for watching, everybody. #bye, everybody.